Hi guys, Rebecca Connolly here. Are y'all ready to start this Ask the Author event? I'm really excited to get to the questions that you've asked, so just stay tuned and we'll get going. That's a great question. Actually, I have thought of doing a set of paperback books, but it's something that's kind of hard to manage with my printer. So maybe we'll be able to do that in the future, but we'll definitely be doing ebook sets once we've got the full collection ready to go. And as far as signings go, I would love to do signings. The question is just setting them up and getting there. And since I have a day job, it's kind of hard to manage all of those things. But if anybody has any ideas for signings, locations, opportunities, let me know, because promotion is always fun and signings are great. I just love them. I am always planning more series. Always, always, always. It's ongoing. And the next series, there's two series coming up. There's two different series coming up. One does involve some female friends, and then there's another that involves a group of people that you will get an introduction to in this book, The Burdens of a Bachelor, as well as the next two books. You'll get a bit of an intro to them and then kick off an entirely new series next year. Which one was the hardest to write? Secrets of a Spinster was the hardest to write. Not necessarily because of the content or the storyline, but because that came at a time in my life where there was a lot of changes going on with location, with education, with work. There was a lot going on, and so there was a lot of interruptions, and so picking that one up was really hard and went through a whole lot of reworking to get it to where it is now. Easiest to write was probably Married to the Marquess, because that banter between Derek and Kate just came fairly natural to me. I don't know what that says about my personality, but that was probably the easiest to write, and I also got that one written the fastest in the series, which doesn't necessarily mean it's easier, but in this case it seemed to work out pretty well for me. How did I come up with the group? Well, I was writing Nathan's book first, and it just came up that there were these 5 friends, that Nathan had 4 friends, and when I was setting up the friends, I knew that they were going to be significant and that I was going to need stories for them, and as I tried to create just enough information about them for Nathan's book, their stories just kind of fell into place. I didn't know all the details, but when I knew their personalities, their stories kind of came with it. And their love interests, it's kind of the same thing. As soon as I thought about those characters, I knew what sort of females I wanted to pair them with. The details of Colin's book didn't come into light until closer to his book, but I knew that there was something secret about Colin that nobody was going to figure out, and that was really fun to play with. So this one kind of goes along with a question that I just answered, but yeah, in a way I did have them mapped out with the first book, not the details of it obviously, but I knew roughly what I wanted to do with each of them. And of course that, things change. There's deleted scenes from each book, different things that didn't make it into the final draft because they took away from the story, or the story took me in a direction that I didn't think I was going to be going in. So they were sort of mapped out, if that's a good answer. So sort of. Yes, I do have another book planned. I have several other books planned, and if you will look at the very last page in The Burdens of a Bachelor when you all get your copies, you will find the preview page for the next book, which is A Bride Worth Taking. And that is the story of Kit Gerard, Colin's brother. And you will get some pretty fun teasers in Colin's book about Kit. And hopefully you'll want to read Kit's story as much as you want to read Colin's. It's pretty fun. Well, the book is coming out on Saturday, so I'm not sure how much sooner you want it. But it's going to be worth the wait, I promise. And I also promise not to make you wait as long for the next book. I can't tell you officially when it's coming, but I have an idea, and it's much sooner than you've gotten books between in the past. Ooh, multi-part question. Okay, which male character do I see myself most? Probably Jeff, because he doesn't really pay that much attention to what's right in front of his face, but he's a really good guy and just tries to do what he thinks is right, and that's kind of what I've always tried to do. But then he's got that sneaky sense of humor, and I like to think that I have a sneaky sense of humor. And for female characters, definitely Mary. That was a little close to home for me. In a lot of ways that I'm not really going to get into because you don't need to know and I don't need to share. But I definitely see myself in Mary a lot. And which character do I wish I was more like? Annie. She's just wonderful and sweet and kind and just endures everything just so well and just has this quiet strength that people take for granted, and I wish I was more like that. Yeah, when I wrote An Arrangement of Sorts, I knew that Derek was going to come next because I wanted to explore what in the world I'd set up with Derek having a wife he couldn't stand. So I knew that one was going to come next, and then when I wrote their book and we introduced Mary a little bit more, then I knew that one was coming next, and I knew that I was going to have Colin go last, so Duncan just happened to fall into fourth place. So it did kind of just fall into place based on how the story went. I had a general idea at first, and it just kind of moved on from there. Well, I can't get into too many specifics here because the book's not out yet, but Colin's first love was 15, 16 years before this book takes place, and that's not a spoiler, that's on the back cover. And how did it turn out? Well, at the beginning of the book, he doesn't have her, and he doesn't have her in any of the books previously, so that's that. So we'll just kind of have to see what you guys think of the book and go from there. My next book is Kit Gerard's book, which is not technically part of the arrangement series because he's not one of the 5 guys, but I'm still including it in the arrangement series. So it's a spin-off, if you will. And then there's another book after that that you will get a lead-in to in Kit's book. So they're 2 spin-off books. They do stand alone, but they are still inclusive in this series. Quite a few, actually. There's a lot of stories that I have ideas for and notes on and basic plot lines, even some scenes, and they just haven't made it into any sort of real book form yet. And I have to say yet because there's absolutely no promises. I might be writing them all. I might write only half of them, but there are several books, ideas at least, that are not currently in the works for full development. Now that's not really a fair question, is it? Because I know them all so well and I just love them all. Which is my favorite? Can I have favorites? Do I have to have favorites? Colin, I guess. But don't tell the others because I love them so much. Well, Colin was the funnest to write because there's so much going on, and it was such a surprise and so refreshing to take this hilarious character that has been so prevalent in everybody else's life and twist his story in a way that nobody expects, not even his friends, and not even Colin, really. And he's so funny and so witty, and so it was really fun to be able to play with that and develop it and kind of get a better glimpse into who Colin is and why he is the way he is. Yes, you do, but not much to go on. I have to keep that as much of a mystery as I can. But I do promise in the books that are following, starting with this one, you do learn more about the gent, and he takes on a more significant role in upcoming books. I cannot tell you what that secret was. I can't. It's too big of a spoiler. There are some teasers in this book, and there's more in the book following, but I am so sorry I cannot tell you what the secret was because that would ruin so many things for you, and you don't want things to be ruined, I promise. Oh yeah, it happens all the time. When I'm thinking, I find myself thinking in the way that my characters speak, or using big words when I don't need to, just because I'm used to writing them, and I forget that we don't really talk that way anymore. But it's also not too hard to set it aside. It just depends on where my mind has been. If I've been completely obsessed in writing for a couple of days, then it is a little bit harder to turn it off. But I don't ever really forget where I am or what I do, and it is a little sad though that we don't live in such fun times as that. I mean, we have our perks in this time, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I tend to be a Regency female in our 21st century world. Well, that's very nice of you. My favorite book generally is probably The Scarlet Pimpernel. If you haven't read that one, you need to. It is fantastic and exciting and a just fabulous love story. I love it so much, and it just has all of the things that I love about literature in it. And which book has influenced me the most? Probably Pride and Prejudice. I got that book from my grandma when I was young and loved the story, and that started my love for the Regency era, and it just kind of spiraled from there, and look where we are now. Why are my books so good? I don't know. I need someone else to tell me that. I can't tell anybody why they're good. I like reading them, I like writing them, but I don't know why they're good. Someone tell me. Of my own or just in general? We'll just go with generally. I've always thought I was a bit like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Not necessarily because the movie just came out. That's always been my favorite Disney movie. But she's a bookworm, and she's smart and doesn't really feel like she fits in and is trying to find her way. And that's something that I've always related to on a certain level. And wanting something more out of life and not really knowing what it is or how to get it, where to go for it. And as yet, I haven't found a castle that has a prince waiting for me to fall in love with him, so guess we're still in development there. Next in the series is A Bride Worth Taking, and that's Kit Gerard's story. And then we wrap up the arrangement series and the spin-offs with the 7th book, which is A Wager Worth Making. And you haven't really met the lead character for that book yet, but you do. He pops up in The Burdens of a Bachelor and in A Bride Worth Taking. And then we go from there and move on to the next series, or 2 or 3. My favorite character in the entire series has to be Tibby. I've said repeatedly that she is the best character I have ever created. And I don't know where she came from, but she is fantastic and wonderful, and I love absolutely everything about her and everything she does. She is hands down my favorite. That's a bit of a tricky question because various books will be in different stages. At this moment, I have this book being published. I have a book that I just got back from my editor. I have another book that is in with my editor. I just finished writing a book in the next series, and just today, in fact, I've started a project in a different series. So what is that, 5, 6, something like that, and I have so many more things lined up. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on all the time with me. That's just the way my life works and the way my mind works. Good question. The next series does shoot off from this one. So we've got this book, and then, as I've said, there's Kit's book, and then there's the book following. And then next year we start a new series, and there's 2 new series actually coming out. One series is connected to this world, so you'll still see occasionally, you'll see characters that we met in this one, but not in major roles. They're just around. And then the other series that I'm working on that will be coming out soon has absolutely no connection at all. So you're going to get a bit of both there. And we'll see if future books have some of these characters from the arrangement series coming back to visit. It just kind of depends on who these characters are and what I want to do with them. Okay, that's all the time we have today, so thank you so much for all of your questions and for participating this week in our release event for The Burdens of a Bachelor. I'm so excited for you guys to read this book, to finally find out what's going on with Colin, and it really does mean the world to me that you guys are so involved, so invested, and that you love these characters as much as I do. So please stay in touch on the webpage and look for more opportunities to get new things, to get prizes, news. I promise to start teasing the next book as soon as I can. So, you guys, take care and happy reading.